Hi, my name's Paul Grogan and welcome to my Games of the Month video log for August 2024. Now, before we start, just wanted to get something out of the way. I normally start these video logs with some kind of apology or important information, and today I just want to mention the fact that I'm recording this video log at about 10 o'clock at night. The plan was that I would film the video log this afternoon and then I would have the evening off to play Tainted Grail with Vicky, and that was the plan. However, there are certain things going on at the moment in the board game industry that have been distracting me, should I say, and I'm going to talk about this later on in the video, but I'm a little bit frazzled, I'm very tired, and I just wanted to mention that up front in case that comes across in this video that, oh, Paul's not as energetic as he normally is, or Paul looks a little bit more frantic than he normally does. That's why. Right, let's dive into what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to start, first of all, with all of the games that I've been playing since the last video log, and in general, what I think about them. That will include all of the games that I've been playing on Board Game Arena. I'm then going to talk about other content that's been on the channel recently, what's coming up for the future, and Patreon update, and a couple of extra bits before we finish off. So there you go. It'll all be time-stamped if you want to skip ahead and find the relevant part. But most people want to hear about the games that I've been playing. So, as I said, this video is going to cover all of the games that I've played since the last video log, which was pretty much done at the very end of July. But because I'm recording this on the 28th of August, it isn't going to cover the full month. It is going to cover up to today. I've not played any games today, so it's going to cover, up to yesterday. Right, let's start off with Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age. Now, I've played this on the 1st of August and then twice on the 9th of August. And before I tell you too much about the game, I wanted to say that the video that I did on this game is on the channel now. It was a full 3-player playthrough. Yeah, I think we did a 3-player playthrough, and it was a sponsored video from Board and Dice. So take that into account when I'm telling you about this game. Played it on the 1st of August at our local club. I took it to our local games club, which meets twice a month, and I took it along there and I didn't read the rules beforehand. I ran out of time on that day and I said to everybody that I was playing with, look, we're going to be learning this game from the rulebook and we might not get it finished because I think this is quite a heavy game. I'm not quite sure, but based on the amount of components in the box and the size of the rulebook, I wasn't sure we were going to get it done. So 3 of us sat down and we learned how to play that game from the rulebook, and then we did manage to play a full game of it. We slightly overran by 5 minutes and Mark was chasing me to put the tables away and get it packed up, but we managed to get it done. And the video that we did, I looked back at it earlier on today, it was 3.5 hours. It's not a 3.5 hour game, but I was teaching the rules as we were going along. And I think one of the players, it was their first game. We'd had a bit of a practice run beforehand, but one of the players, it was their first full game of it. So, Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age. This is Board and Dice's big new release for this year. So Board and Dice release a number of games each year, and earlier on this year they've had, let me see if I can get this right, certainly Windmill Valley, certainly Reef Project. They've got the Barcelona expansion coming out. They've had a side quest game or 2 side quest games. But Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age is their big new release at Essen. It's not going to crowdfunding or anything like that. It was a pre-order, and the pre-order might still be available from Board and Dice. Check their website if you're interested. But it's their big new game for Essen, as I've said 3 times already. Last year it was Nucleum, which I was demoing at Essen last year for them. I'm not demoing this for them this year, but this is a game that I would have been more than happy to spend 4 days at Essen demoing because I enjoyed it, everybody who I played it with enjoyed it, and it just flowed really well. I liked the dice selection mechanism. So without going into a full detail of how the game works, because you can check that if you check the video if you want to see that, you roll this whole bunch of dice at the start of the game. You roll the dice and then you go around the table in order with people selecting a dice and placing it into one of their holders and putting it into a certain space. And then once all of that is done, you then resolve the dice. But you resolve the dice in 2 ways. And this is where it gets clever because you need dice to basically group together with the same colour, high numbers, in order to move up on some of the tracks. But then you kind of want the low numbers because the low numbers get the better action. And it's when you're placing a die, it's a lot more than most games that I've played with dice placement rules. Some people compared it to Coimbra. It's been a while since I've played Coimbra, so I can't quite remember that. But I do remember in Coimbra you did put dice in little plastic castles and put them on the board. So in that way, it is similar. Other than that, yeah, I think the game is a good game. But as I say, check out the video if you want to see more about that. One thing that I do want to mention, and again, I get given my games for free because I'm producing content for them. So I generally don't know how much games sell for. But I will be honest with you here. When I saw the price of this game and compared to the amount of physical components in the box, there's a lot of stuff in there. I was like, oh, I was expecting it to be more. I can't remember whether that meant it was 50 euros or 60 euros, but I remember thinking at the time, oh, I think that's a good price for the amount of game that you get in there. Right, that's Minos Dawn of the Bronze Age. Next up, on the 6th of August, Keyside. And also on the 16th of August, Keyside. So I first played Keyside, which is the new game that's coming from Richard Breeze. It is not available yet. And in fact, the crowdfunding campaign, Richard's going to be going to Kickstarter with this, as he normally does for his games now. That's not, I don't have a date for that yet. Richard has told me it'll be sometime in Q4. And what I normally do is I normally do my videos like the week before they're going on Kickstarter or crowdfunding or whatever. But with this one, we'd booked this date in with Richard and it was all in, it was all planned. And then I said to Richard, so when's the Kickstarter going live so that I can put the link in the video? He said, oh, probably not till Q4. And I'm like, okay, well, we've already got this date booked into the diary. Are you okay with that? And he was like, yeah, so that's fine. So that video is on the channel now. This is the new key game from Richard Breeze, but this one is co-designed with David Turtsey, who's done a lot of games over the last few years. Both Richard and David are friends of mine. They're both supporters of mine. So again, take that into account when I'm telling you about this game. And the video that I did was a sponsored video. Now, when I played it on the 6th, Richard actually hired me to do rulebook consultancy for the game. So for Richard's last few games, I've done rulebook consultancy, which is a professional piece of work where I try to learn how to play the game from the rulebook that is provided to me, with no external help unless needed. So the way that these work is that I do a private live stream with Richard watching, and we try and play it. And then if we get stuck, we will ask Richard a question and he will put the answer in the chat. But he's not there teaching us how to play the game. And just to let you into a bit of information, that's the best way if you are designing a game or you're working on a rulebook, is you do a blind test. And a blind test of a game is where you give people the game, give people the rule book, put some tape over your mouth so you don't accidentally jump in and start helping them, and sit there and watch them, and only help them when they get stuck or when they start playing incorrectly and you need to say, you're doing this wrong. Anyway, we did that. That was on the 6th. So I did rulebook consultancy for him. And we then tried playing the game from the rulebook in the afternoon, which went mostly well. We did have a couple of queries, and obviously I fed those back to Richard, and he's improved the rulebook because of that. And then we played it twice on the 16th. One of those was a practice game in the afternoon, and then the one in the evening was on the channel. So if you want to check that out, the new key game coming from Richard Breeze, the video is on the channel now on the 16th of August. There were 3 of us that were playing it, and again, take this with a pinch of salt, but I enjoyed it. So again, Richard's a friend, but I will be honest with you, some of his key games I prefer more than other ones, and this one was one of the ones that I preferred rather than some of the other ones. There was something about this game which I felt clicked for me and worked quite well. But the game has quite a lot of width, if I'm using the right terminology here, I'm not sure. And essentially, the way I'm going to describe it is you have this island. This island has 12 harbours around it, and each of those 12 harbours has a scoring tile assigned to it at the start of the game. And those scoring tiles will score at the end of the game. And the reason why I'm saying the game has quite a lot of width, it has some depth as well, but it has quite a lot of width, is when you're first playing the game, and we all experienced this the first time we played the game, is like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm absolutely overwhelmed. And you're not overwhelmed because the game is heavy or there's a million choices or there's a million things to do. It's because there are 12 scoring opportunities. And I'm like, and it's not just those 12. There's other ways to score points as well. And you're like, well, which ones am I going to go for? I'm not really sure. But actually, when I then taught the game for the second time or the third time, I said, right, okay, here's how you're going to get most of your points at the end of the game. It's going to be from these harbours. And let's go through these harbours and we'll explain how each one of them scores so that you know what you're going to be aiming for. And it's not like you're only going to do 1 or 2 of those harbours. I think you're probably going to do like maybe 5, 6 or 7, but the more of the key pulls that you put on a harbour, the more points you're going to get. So, like a lot of Richard's games, it's clever. There's a lot of very interesting decisions. It is dice selection again, but this time it's done a little differently in the way that it works. But effectively, you're choosing a dice, you're moving these boats around the island, you're docking these boats at the island to activate them. But then once you have used all of your dice, because each player has their own set of dice, you then start activating the actual islands. And it's very clever in the way that it works. You've got to be in it to win it. So if you've got a key pull on that particular harbour tile, you get to activate the effect, whether you placed it there that turn or not. And those same key pulls will score you at the end of the game. But you haven't got enough to do everything everywhere. So anyway, if you're interested in Richard Breeze's and David Turtz's new key game, that is on the channel now. Next up, wow, right, okay. 6th, the 8th, and the 15th to the 16th, the best game that I have played this month is The Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era by Chip Theory Games. I am one of the lucky few people. I say few, they got about 100 copies made, so not quite few. And I'm going to be covering this game in a professional capacity near the end of October. And there's already quite a lot of content out there for this game already. There's a few other channels that have already covered this game. Mike from One Stop Co-op Shop has covered it. Derek from Kanji Studios, he's covered it as well a few times. I don't have any public content out there for this game at the moment. There is some Patreon-only content for it. So if you are a Patreon supporter, you may have already watched my videos, or if you want to watch those videos, they are on my channel now. And to answer the question of why am I doing these as Patreon-only videos when other people are doing public playthrough videos? The reason for that is that because I'm doing a sponsored playthrough, these are my learning games. And I didn't feel, and I don't feel comfortable in doing a public stream of me spending 4 hours struggling to learn the game from the rulebook. And I'm not saying the rulebook is bad, I'm just saying this is a heavy game. The rulebook is absolutely massive. And we did a couple of games where we were learning how to play the game from the rulebook. They were very rough. I hadn't properly set the studio up with all of the camera angles. We got some rules wrong that we didn't realise until, the next day. So these videos, they were behind the scenes videos of me learning how to play the game and having some practice games, but they're never going to be made public. And that's because the public one, hopefully, cross fingers, we will get all of the rules right. So what is this game and why is it the best game that I've played this month? The Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era is a game that I've been looking forward to ever since Chip Theory Games announced it. As far as I'm concerned, and I'm curious to see what you think about it, is I think this is an evolution of Too Many Bones. I'm going to class this as Too Many Bones 2.0. Some people have said it's a little bit more like Hoplomachus or Hoplomachus Victorum. I'm seeing more Too Many Bones in there, but there is definitely the influence. First of all, one of the big differences is it's a campaign game, but a campaign is 3 sessions long. You play a particular session, which lasts for a maximum of 12 days, where you will travel across the map, you will have encounters. Some of those will be peaceful encounters, a little bit like Too Many Bones, where you will draw a card, and some of them will just give you choices, and you will do things. And other times there will be a combat. You've got delves, where you go down, and you've got to try and find things. There's dungeons, which I've not done yet. And a session will probably last you, I don't know, X amount of hours. I could probably solo a session in about 3 hours. Probably a 3-player game maybe in about 5 hours. Not 100% sure. I know Chip Theory Games yesterday did a live stream of a 4-player game, and they played a whole session in, I can't remember, it was about 3.5 hours. I had to disappear off. But that's on their channel if you want to see a full 4-player playthrough of it. A lot of the other channels have covered just a solo playthrough or maybe a 2-player playthrough. And yeah, I just think it's fantastic. For me, as I said, the sad thing is I can't see myself ever playing Too Many Bones again. Now, I felt that way after playing it for the first time because it tickled a certain itch or scratched a certain itch, that Too Many Bones itch, but done in a much better way. And I posted on my Slack channel and I said, so for those people that have played Too Many Bones or seen Too Many Bones and you've now seen me or you've seen other people playing Elder Scrolls, is Elder Scrolls going to replace Too Many Bones for you? And everybody said no. Everybody said, nope, we're still going to play Too Many Bones. And I'm like, ah, right, because for me, it completely replaces it. And I get some of the points. They were saying, well, in Too Many Bones, you can play a game of it in 4 hours, and then it's done. Whereas with Elder Scrolls, that's just one session of a campaign. So it does require a bit more of a time investment. And also, it isn't just Too Many Bones 2.0. I feel that it's a natural evolution of the core mechanisms and the system, but there's a number of quite major differences as well. So if you're a Too Many Bones fan, don't worry. Too Many Bones is still great. It's still out there. You can still play it. This isn't replacing it whatsoever. But for me, with limited time to play games, I think I would always lean towards the Elder Scrolls. Yeah, it's going to be a while before my public content comes out for this game. I do actually have another Patreon practice game, and this is happening next week, next Thursday, which will be my first 3-player game. I've soloed it, I've played it 2-player. I haven't actually done a 3-player game, and it's going to be me, Ben, and JP, and we're all going to know the game. Now, Ben and JP haven't actually played the game yet, but they've been reading through the rules, they've watched some other people's videos, so we're going to go into it hopefully having a good idea of how it plays out. And Ben and JP are the people that are going to be playing it with me when we do the sponsored stream in October. So effectively, this is our group. We're going to be practicing. We're going to be creating characters. We might then, play those same characters when we get to the public stream in October, or we might say, I didn't like this character. I don't like how it works. We might choose different ones. Who knows? Who knows? Watch this space for more about that. Okay, now, 4 times in the last month, and it would have been 5 if we'd have played tonight, is Tainted Grail, Kings of Ruin. I was talking about Tainted Grail, Kings of Ruin back in, I think it was April, and me and Vicky were playing through the campaign together, and we were playing it. There was one week where we were completely addicted to it, and we played it every other night or something like that. Unfortunately, when it got to about April or May, it got put away and other things caught up with me, and then it was one thing after another and one thing after another. And we've been saying for the last 2 months, we really need to get back to Tainted Grail. We both want to get back to it, but then, as I say, one thing after another has stopped us getting back to it. So, 4 times this month we've played it. Now, I say 4 times this month we've played it. One of those was for probably about an hour. But we've played, I don't know, maybe a total of about 6 or 7 hours over the last few weeks, and we were going to play again tonight, but I'm filming this video log instead. Tainted Grail, Kings of Ruin. When I talked about this back in April, I was absolutely loving it. I'm still absolutely loving it. I still can't decide whether this or ISS Vanguard are my favourite narrative-driven campaign games. And I'll talk about ISS Vanguard in a bit later on. I don't know what I said back in April. I was probably leaning more towards ISS Vanguard. I'm now leaning more towards Tainted Grail, Kings of Ruin. And because I haven't spoken about Kings of Ruin for a few months, I just want to give you a bit of a recap, because the original Tainted Grail, which was Fall of Avalon, did come in for some criticism, and I would have to say, honestly, hand on heart, that criticism was fair. The game was a bit grindy, it was too difficult, it was too punishing, and you ended up just going round in circles for days and days and days just to get enough resources to, we'll light the men here. Right, now what do we do? Well, the men here is running out. We need to go and grind some more resources. It got in the way of the story, got in the way of enjoying the game. Now, we played the original campaign after we'd got past Chapter 2 with some house rules and playing on story mode. And yeah, for those people who don't know, Kings of Ruin not just fixes all of the problems with the original Tainted Grail, but it makes some other fundamental changes to the game and the way that it works. The whole experience is better. I mean, I am not lying to you. I've played a lot of games over my life, and I have played a number of narrative-driven campaign games, and I always loved the setting, and I always loved the feel and the style of the Tainted Grail sort of universe, and Kings of Ruin is just phenomenal. We're just absolutely loving it. For those people who know the game, we are on Chapter 5, Part 3. There are 10 chapters in the game. So, I don't know, some chapters are longer than others. I don't know how long we've got left. I can't say anything about the story because of spoilers. But yeah, we're just absolutely loving it. So, that is Kings of Ruin. Next up, on the 15th of August, and one of these videos I believe is on the channel. No, it's not. This is Paul in the editing room, just to let you know that there is a video of A Wayfarers Tale on the channel. I was talking complete nonsense. So, local games club I took along a Wayfarers Tale. This is a new game that's going to be coming to crowdfunding soon, I think 10th of September, if I remember correctly. It's by James Emerson, UK games designer, who contacted me, and he's got a new publisher, well, his company, Wayfarer Games, I think it's called, and he's got a Wayfarers Tale. Now, a Wayfarers Tale, there is, if you look on Board Game Geek, there is a print and play version of it that you can play solo, and it's a sort of trial version of the game, and this won some awards, or I think it got second place in the Board Game Geek Best Print and Play Game Awards or something like that. But anyway, James has updated the game, all new graphics, all new gameplay, all sorts of extra stuff like that, and it's going to be coming to crowdfunding on the 10th of September. And the video that I created for the game is a sponsored video. I will be honest with you and let you know that. But what I did is I took it down to our local club on the 15th, and I played it twice. I'd actually played it in the afternoon myself, just to learn the game, and then I took it to the local club and we played it twice. Then on the 20th of August, I did 2 more games of it here. One of them was a practice game, and then we did the live stream. So that's on the channel now. It's already there if you want to check that out. It is a Wayfarers Tale, 20th of August, and yeah, the Kickstarter goes live on the 10th of September. I think it's Kickstarter. Apologies if it's GameFound. I'm not sure. The link to the crowdfunding campaign is in the description of the video. What is a Wayfarers Tale? Well, I don't know whether James is going to like me saying this, but I will tell you what some friends of mine said when I taught them the game. I taught them the game, but we didn't play it. And the reason for that is they came round, we played Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, which I'll talk about in a bit, and then it was like, Vicky goes to cook dinner, how long are you going to be? Oh, I'm going to be, you know, a certain length of time, right? Well, we'll play Wayfarers Tale. Unfortunately, we got involved in some chatter, and then by the time I taught them how to play the game, Vicky was like, dinner's ready, and I was like, oh, so we didn't actually get to play it. I taught them how to play, we didn't play it. But they said, this is a bit like Ganshon Clever. And I'm like, nah, it's nothing like Ganshon Clever. And then I thought about it and I was like, okay, maybe it is. So what happens in this game is that you take it in turns, but on your turn, you roll these dice, and one of the dice are red. One of the dice is red. Then all players choose any 2 of those dice and add the values together and then do something with that value. You, as the active player, you can choose the red dice, but the other players can't. Once you've chosen the value, you then choose which area of your player board to use that value on. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, this definitely sounds like Ganshon Clever. So there may have been some inspiration in the design from that, but it's got theme. It actually, you know, it's not just an abstract game about rolling dice, but essentially you have 2 boards. You have your player board, which has all of the different, what they call companions that you can use, and then you've got your map board. And your map board is where you are drawing lines across the map in order to basically travel around this island, and the different terrain that you can travel into depends on which companion you use. And each companion is its own little mini game. So the coachman, for example, whatever, you can use any value the first time you use the coachman, but then after that it needs to be a higher value. So you've got the coachman, you've got the merchant, you've got the adventurer. Am I going to be able to remember them all? You've got the guide and you've got the captain. Yes, I think I did. And the rules for each one is its own little mini game. But that's what you do. You use the dice, you choose which companion you want, you get potentially a bonus for using the companion, then you draw a line on the map, and when somebody's connected all of their towns, the game ends. It's a 5 minutes each, possibly maybe a little bit more, and it's like a 30-minute game. There are 4 different maps included in the game, and there are some special rules associated with each map. And yeah, you're looking at probably 45 minutes for a game. So that's the kind of thing that makes it sound interesting to you. Definitely check out the playthrough video that I've done on the channel. It's a 3-player playthrough, but we played simultaneously, because otherwise the video would have been 3 times as long if we'd have explained what each person was doing. And there is a solo mode as well, and I am covering the solo mode tomorrow, but that won't be a live public stream. I'm recording the solo playthrough tomorrow, and the video is likely to go live probably just before the campaign starts. So that's a Wayfarers Tale. Now, also on the 15th, that evening, after we'd played 2 games of Wayfarers Tale, we played Spectacular. Now, Spectacular is a new game that's coming from Chili Fox Games. Chili Fox were kind enough to send me 3 copies of the game, because they always send me 3 copies of the game. And why are they sending me 3 copies of the game? It's because I run a board game convention in November. And as part of that board game convention, I do a charity raffle and I ask publishers to donate games to me in order for me to put into the charity raffle. And Chili Fox Games and Porter Games, that are both run by the same person, they're always very generous and they always give me 3 copies, one for me to cover on the channel and another 2 for the GridCon raffle. Now, this is not a sponsored video, so I haven't done a public playthrough video of this yet, but I have played it once, twice. I've played it twice this month, and I think I played it 2 or 3 times last month, so I probably spoke about it last month, but in case I didn't, and I can be completely honest about this game because I am not doing any sponsored coverage of this game. I am going to do some video for it, but it isn't going to be sponsored. This is a really nice, I'm not going to say simple, but quick to teach, quick to play game about putting animals in a zoo. Now that's a common theme that's been used a lot recently, but this is dice selection, sort of. It's just really clever. I mean, again, without explaining how it all works, it's simultaneous play, so it goes really quickly. It takes up to 6 people. A game will take you about half an hour to play, and the decisions that you make in this game might seem simple at first, but they're actually quite tricky. You've got your own dice and your own tiles with creatures on, and there is a board with dice and creatures on. Each player's got one of those, and it passes round. And on each turn of the game, and there's only 15 turns in the game, you have to choose one item from your own board, which can either be a dice or a tile, and one item from the board that's passing around. And then you place those into your zoo. You are placing tiles, which represent different animals and different types of creatures and stuff like that, and you're placing dice on the animals following certain restrictions. But yeah, if I'm not making it sound good, the gameplay is great. Everybody who I've played this with so far has said that this game is really good. So keep an eye out for that. I am due to cover it on the channel Friday the 13th of September. I think I've got that date booked in for it if we're able to fit it in. If not, I will cover it at some other time again. So that is spectacular. Next up, we have the 2 plays of Keyside, 18th. So Sunday the 18th of August, Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, 2 games of that, and a game of Spectacular, and a teaching game of A Wayfarer's Tale that we then didn't play. So, Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. We played 2 games of it on that day, and I have to say that, and I can't remember exactly what I said about this game last month, because we're playing the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth campaign. We are playing, which one is it? Mirkwoody one, with the spiders, that one. No, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, we're playing through that campaign, and after last month, I vaguely remember in last month's video log being a bit down on the game, and I think that's because this game was at one point in my top 10 games of all time, and I loved playing it, absolutely loved playing it, and I've played, I don't know, 30, 35 games of this or something. I've played through the original campaign twice. I've had the occasional starter game as well with it, and now we're playing through this other campaign, and it's like, yeah, this is great, we're loving this. But after last month, there was something about it that was like, oh, okay, I'm getting a bit bored of it now. I'm starting to see a lot of those criticisms that the game got when it came out that I didn't really see myself. I finally started to see them. And that is, it does get a bit repetitive. You travel across a map, you go into a new area, you press a button, it reads you a little bit of flavour, and you gain the inspiration token. There's a lot of repetitive stuff in there, and it took me a long time to see that in the game. I still like the game, but after playing it this month... Oh, and yeah, the one other thing I wanted to mention is after playing it a couple of times last month, I was thinking, I can't wait for this campaign to end, because I'm not enjoying it as much as I want to enjoy it, and I know as soon as we finish this campaign, we're going to move on to Agamonia, and I can't wait to play Agamonia. Anyway, we played it this month, we played 2 scenarios, I really enjoyed both of them. So I'm glad, because otherwise I would have had another 2 games where I'm gone, not enjoying this, when can we finish? But I actually enjoyed both of these games. We are 1 scenario away from the end of this campaign. In fact, it said, at the start of the next chapter, it said, this is the last chapter, win or lose, the campaign ends here. So we're doing that, and I think we're meeting up in a couple of weeks' time, and then that will be finished, which means Agamonia is going to be starting. So yeah, Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. Yeah, enjoy the game, but can't wait to get on to something else. So we also played Spectacular that day that I've spoken about. Right, next up on The 20th is when I did the Wayfarers Tale, and then ISS Vanguard. Now, in fact, I think my list is wrong here. Yes, it is. Okay, let's talk about ISS Vanguard now. I've missed it off my list. I've played ISS Vanguard 3 times this month, on the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th. And we're still loving ISS Vanguard. Now, speaking of games which came in for a lot of criticism for being repetitive, ISS Vanguard is another one. And there are multiple threads about this game on Board Game Geek and other places where people have said, it's just repetitive. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. You move to a location, it's got a dice check. What is that dice check? Oh, I need to roll gribblies and television screens. Oh, I'll get some dice. You play a card. I'll roll them. Past, do this, go to the next page. And they're not wrong. That's essentially what the game is. But I'm not feeling, right now, maybe I need to play 30 games of it, I'm not feeling any repetition. And that is because we are not just moving to a random location, looking at the thing, and then rolling the dice to try and match the symbols. We're not doing that. We are immersed in this game. We are immersed in this story, and we are actually, oh, what is it? Oh, well, it's strange creatures that are growing under the water. And what can we do? Well, we've got to harvest the plants. Right, okay, well, let's have a look at it. Okay, this is a dangerous check. Right, so it's a dangerous check. That means we might need to bring on this. We need to roll these icons. What do those icons represent? Oh, yeah, thematically, it's not just random icons. Those icons actually represent, oh, we need the strength symbol. That means these plants must be really hard, to pull up off the ground, and it needs another icon that means something else, and you can picture it. You can think, oh yeah, I need these icons because that's what this test is. And then you'll do the test and you might roll an accident symbol, and you look at the accident symbol and it says, oh, you get an injury, you get the wounded injury, and you're like, oh yeah, well, that makes sense because these plants are sharp and they've got... So if you immerse it's like any game really, if you immerse yourself in it and actually feel what you're doing rather than just rolling dice for symbols, it's a lot more. But also, the other thing is it isn't just you roll dice to try and get symbols. Other people can help you. You've got different equipment that can help you. And the more you play the campaign, the more research you do, the more technologies you've got, the more equipment you've got. It's changing. We're not just doing the same thing every time. We're taking different crew members to planets. We're changing our equipment loadout. So we're using different tools each time we play, tailored to whatever the planet is. Especially if you go back to the same planet a second time, you kind of know what you're going to face. There was one planet that we went to a few weeks ago where we absolutely got wrecked. I think all the crew members died. It was a really bad mission, and it just went horribly, horribly wrong, and all the crew members died. But we didn't complete the mission. So we went back there, because that's what you do. If you have a mission where everybody dies, everybody goes back there. But what we did is we looked at the board. And we looked at the board and we saw the biome icons on the board, and we knew what we were facing. We looked at the checks that we would need to resolve. We looked at whether any of the checks were dangerous or would have accident results that trigger bad effects or anything like that. And then when we went back, we tailored our crew and our equipment to suit the planet and the mission that we were going to do. And then the second time we went, we did it. Not in a breeze. It was still something we had to think about. Anyway, narrative-wise, absolutely loving it. As I said earlier, I still can't quite decide whether ISS Vanguard, Tainted Grail is my favourite narrative-driven game. Same designer, same lead designer that wrote the stories and basically created most of these games. No disrespect to the development team that I know worked very hard on these games, but the designer probably did a lot of the work on the game, I would assume. We also think we're quite near the end of the campaign. We have played 17 sessions so far, but based on where the story is going, I can't give any spoilers away, I think we're quite near the end. We might only have another couple of sessions left, and then we have the choice of, well, we think we have the choice, I don't know. It might say, campaign ends, well done, you're finished. Or it might be, okay, we know that's going to be the final mission. We're enjoying this game, so let's actually fly around and go to some other planets and see what they have to offer and experience that part of the game before we finish the game. This is my first question for you. If you're watching this video, well, you are watching this video, because obviously, but I'd like to know what you would do. So if you are playing a campaign-driven game with lots of story and you're enjoying it, and you get to a point where you're 20 sessions in and you get this door that says, come through this door, this is the final mission of the game, and you're like, but wait a minute, there's 4 or 5 extra things that we could do in this game. Do you finish the game? Do you finish the campaign and go, right, it's finished? Or are you more of a completionist? And do you say, well, we could finish the campaign, but actually let's go and just do all of these as well so that we actually see more content of the game. I'm curious to know what you think, because I am a completionist. Vicky's a completionist as well. We want to do everything, but for ISS Vanguard, we might not. And the only reason I'm thinking we might not is time is limited and we've got other games to move on to. So I'm not sure. I mean, it'll be a joint decision, whatever we decide to do, but I am curious to know what you think. Just so you know, the ISS Vanguard, those videos are not sponsored, and they're not on the channel as well. They are Patreon-only videos that are on the channel, and the reason they are Patreon-only is because we play around at Rick's house, and it is a webcam sat on top of a box of games. The quality isn't good enough for me to have them on the public channel, so that's why they are basically Patreon-only videos. But yeah, none of those are sponsored. I'm not being paid any money by Awakened Realms. They are one of my clients for other work, but the ISS Vanguard, I'm not being paid any money for that. Right, so next up, Barcelona. Again, I'll be honest with you, this was a sponsored video from Board and Dice. I have played Barcelona with the new expansion, which is, I think, called the Passage de Gracia. But I played 3 games of it on the 23rd. So what happens is, Stuart and Rob came round in the afternoon. First thing we did is we did a relearning game of the base game, because I'd not played the base game in, I don't know, maybe a year. I remember enjoying it, but I didn't remember completely how to play. So first time we played, we did a relearning game of the base game. Then we finished that, we got the expansion out, we played with the expansion. We then paused, went downstairs, went to the shops, got some food, came back, ate the food, came upstairs and did the public playthrough. That's on the channel now. If you are interested in seeing how the expansion for Barcelona works, that is on the channel now from the 23rd of August. Now, as I say, bearing in mind, that was a sponsored video from Board and Dice, but I'm going to be honest here, I really like Barcelona. And I will compare it to the other games that they had this year. So Windmill Valley, Reef Project. Barcelona wasn't out this year, it was out last year, but Barcelona is my favourite of those 3. I don't know whether I prefer Barcelona to Nucleum, and people might be shocked to hear me say that, but these 2 games cater for a different audience. Nucleum is probably a 45 minute each. Barcelona is probably a 15, maybe 20 minute each. Barcelona takes 90 minutes to play with 3 players. Nucleum will take you about 2.5 to 3 hours to play. Both are very good games. I'm not knocking either of those games, but Barcelona is more in my sweet spot for complexity of game and length of game. And I find the decisions that you make in Barcelona, I find them quite interesting. And again, I'll be absolutely honest with you here. I was buzzing after that day. I was absolutely buzzing. And after that first game of Barcelona, I was like, I remember enjoying this game, but I didn't remember it being this good. Yeah. So there you go. Take that with a pinch of salt, because it was a sponsored video, just being honest with you, because it's late at night and I can't not be honest with you. So yeah, that's Barcelona with the expansion. The expansion is being delivered from Board and Dice. I think people have ordered it. I think there's been some delays, but yeah, should be out soon. And then that evening, I did something that made me very, very, very happy. I played Netrunner. So because the Barcelona game actually finished quite early, I think it was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Rob said he had to go because he was up early the next morning. But I said to Stuart, do you fancy a game of Netrunner? And the reason why I offered Stuart to play Netrunner is I have recently come into possession of a lot of the new Netrunner cards that are produced by a company called Null Signal Games. They have basically resurrected the Android Netrunner game that Fantasy Flight supported for many years. Fantasy Flight no longer produce the game. Null Signal have picked it up, and what they're doing is incredible. Null Signal are a non-profit company. They sell these cards, but they use their money to pay their artists for the cards, to print the cards, and to go to conventions and to run events and support the game. But they don't make any money out of it themselves. And when you look at what they're doing to support the game, I'm like, wow, and they're doing this as a non-profit, which is fantastic. So I'm not doing any paid content for it, but they did send me free copies of the cards. And I'll tell you what, this is what I finished over the weekend. And this makes me very happy as well. So this is a card folder. You see this here? I've put all my cards away. So this is how I've chosen to store my cards for Android Netrunner. And yeah, I've built a couple of decks. And in fact, what I did for that game with Stuart on that night, we played the starter decks. So Stuart's never played before. So I felt it wasn't really right for me to give him here's a deck that came number 2 in the German tournament last weekend, because he'd be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And the starter pack, the System Gateway set, actually includes 2 starter decks. So yeah, made the 2 starter decks, gave one to Stuart, taught him how to play, and we played a game of it. For those people who don't know, I used to be the UK Netrunner tournament coordinator for Netrunner. Not Android Netrunner, Netrunner. Back in 1996 to 1999 or something like that, when the original Netrunner came out, I played it a lot. I still have a lot of my old cards. I still have a sealed box of starters from 1996. What year are we in now? 2024? It's nearly 30 years old. Is that right? Yeah. Wow. So when I was teaching Stuart how to play, and I was doing quite well, I had to remind Stuart that I've been playing this game for 25 years. Now, I've not been playing it constantly. There's many years that I didn't play it, but yeah, I'm a Netrunner player of old. And I played a lot of the Android Netrunner when that came out. I wasn't able to keep up with it, which means why I stopped playing. But I'm so glad that a company has picked it up. And what Null Signal are doing with it is fantastic. If you're interested in getting into Netrunner, then definitely check out Null Signal's website, because yeah, what they're doing is brilliant. And you don't even have to buy the cards from them. They offer print versions of all of their cards. You can go on, if you've got a printer at home or at work or whatever, not that I'm condoning using a work printer for personal use, but you can go onto their website and for no money whatsoever, you can download their PDFs, print out the cards and play Netrunner. And they allow you to do that. And that's so great that they do that. I even believe, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, they allow proxies in tournaments. So you can play tournaments and you can just use proxy cards. If you don't have the cards, you can use proxies. I might be wrong on that, but that is something that I've heard. Please somebody tell me if I'm right or wrong on that. There's going to be some more Netrunner coming to the channel as well. At some point in September, Stevie's coming over from Finland. He's bringing his Netrunner decks with him, and we are going to be doing a live playthrough of me and him playing Netrunner either on Thursday the 12th of September or the morning of Friday the 13th of September. One of those two. That will be happening. Right. To wrap things up, the only other game that I've played in the last month is Captain's Chair on Tabletop Simulator with one of the designers, David Turtsey, and the other designer watching us play. This was actually a private live stream. Again, it was a Patreon-only stream because I'm due to do some sponsored coverage of this game at the start of November. And I've played quite a bit of Captain's Chair, maybe 4 or 5 games of it, but that was a while ago, and I was getting a little bit rusty. And David had said, at any point when you're free, let me know, and we can have a game of Captain's Chair on Tabletop Simulator. And I was like, well, I've actually got a free evening on Monday night, and I do need to play it again in order to refresh my memory of how it plays. And I'm going to get some more practice games in. But that was streamed to Patreons only, Monday, 26th of August. It was on Tabletop Simulator, and I played against David Turtsey. And yeah, I'll talk more about Captain's Chair later on. I've already spoken about it a bit, but for those who don't know, this is the Star Trek version of Imperium. So Imperium Classics, Imperium Legends, or Imperium Horizons. This is what did he call it? A mechanical sequel. It isn't just a retheme. It is definitely based on the core mechanisms of the Imperium system, but lots more stuff going on too. And yes, that's Captain's Chair. Right. Board Game Arena. So the games that I've played on Board Game Arena in the last month are a lot less than I played the month previously. So I've played a game of Carcassonne, which is interesting because I've not played Carcassonne for over 20 years. So I got Carcassonne when it first came out, which I think was 2001. And I played it a few times and I was massively underwhelmed. Hugely underwhelmed. Because at the time, I didn't play like family games whatsoever. I still don't really play that many of them now, but I really didn't play any of them back then. The heavier the better. 20 years ago. That's former Paul, my old self. But there is a version on Board Game Arena with all of the expansions thrown in. And I thought, sure, yeah, let's have a game. So I played this game of Carcassonne on Board Game Arena with all of these expansions. And of course, I didn't read the rulebook beforehand. I just thought, I'll work it out as we play. I had no idea what was going on. This dragon turned up and breathed fire everywhere and burnt my cities down. I had this merchant that I didn't understand how to use it. And then there was this fairy and I didn't know what I was doing. I enjoyed the game. I didn't know what I was doing. I was kind of playing it half for fun. But I thought, actually, this game with all of these expansions thrown in, this was actually all right. Now, what's interesting about this game is, and warning, Paul's going to blow his own trumpet here for a minute. And if you don't know what that phrase means, look it up. When the game came out, I remember playing it, and straight away, after 1 or 2 games, I came up with a house rule. And I remember posting about this house rule on various places. And I said, one thing that I don't like about this game is that you have a tile and you make the best decision about where to put that tile down. And then you draw another tile. And I think I might be wrong on this, but I thought the original rules were that you draw the tile at the start of your turn, which means you don't get any time to think or plan ahead. I might be wrong on this. Correct me if I'm wrong. But first of all, you should draw the tile at the end of your previous turn so that you can actually start planning ahead. But I said that's not enough. I said, I think this game would be much better where you have 2 tiles to choose from each turn, and you play one, and then you draw a replacement. Or even 3 tiles. And that's what we started playing with. So this is one of Paul's house rules that I came up with, and I said, I think this makes it a much better game. It gives you a bit more choice. Anyway, turns out that is the version which is on Board Game Arena. Now, I don't know whether that is a variant that you can select. I don't know if it's a default rule. Please let me know. If you are a Carcassonne player, let me know. Is that then now the new default rule? Is it a variant rule, but is it a variant rule that everybody plays with? I don't know, but I was quite happy when I saw that the game had that in there, because I was like, yeah, because as far as I'm concerned, and obviously not just me, but that makes the game a lot better. So that was a fun game. I also played a game of Heat, which went awfully wrong, just like so many of my games of Heat do. I was in first position, coming out of the second corner. I was in first. And then, blames the cards, it didn't quite work out. And then I was 5th. And then I managed to get back up to 4th. I think it was 4th or 3rd, but I as I say, a combination of not getting the right cards or at the right time. You know how Heat is sometimes. It just happened and it all went wrong at a really tricky part of the track. And I ended up in 5th. But I didn't give up. I thought, right, well, that's that game blown. Forget that. I'm not coming first, not coming second. But I am going to try my best. I'm going to play as good as I can in order to try and not end up 5th. And I think I managed to make it into 4th position. So that was always a good game of Heat. I think it was 6 players that we played with. I had a game of Caverna that finished a few days ago that I enjoyed a lot because I love Caverna. I think it's a great game. And I tried the office strategy. The office is the room which allows you to lay your tiles outside of your player board. And every time you do, you get 2 points. And I remember playing this game with Dan years and years and years ago. And he got the office and he used it. And he just did really well out of it. So I tried getting the office. I got the office. I also did a no weapons approach. And I went with a 6 population. I really struggled for food the whole game, as you would have with that many people. But I then managed to get all of the scoring buildings that gave me points for, oh, you've not got any dwarves with any weapons. Right, have a load of points. Oh, you've got 6 dwarves. Have a load of points. So, yeah, it was a good game. I feel that I played quite well and I deserved the victory in that one. I also played a game of Earth because some of my patron supporters wanted to join, wanted to start a game. I thought, yeah, I've not played Earth for a while. Let's play Earth. Earth's always a good, fun game to play. I still do feel that sometimes you cannot get the card that you want. You know, you've got this scoring card that basically says, oh, you need 3 black abilities. Right, great, 3 black abilities. drawing cards off the deck, drawing cards off the deck. Am I drawing another black ability? No, that can happen. However, I have just finished writing the script for the Abundance expansion for Earth. And one of the things that it fixes is that you have this new resource called the seeds, and you can use one of your seeds to germinate, which basically means you can say, I want to look for a card with a black ability. And then you look through the deck until you find the first card with a black ability and you go, there you go, that's mine. So the Abundance expansion for Earth fixes that issue. And I'm going to use the issue in quotes because lots of people don't think it's an issue. But yeah, you can go hunting for not a specific card, but a specific scoring criteria, which is what you actually need in the game. So yeah, that's the game of Earth. And then I had a 4-player game of Hadrian's Wall. So I've played probably about 20 games of Hadrian's Wall now on Board Game Arena. I've never played the physical version of the game, but most of it has been solo. And Melinda, one of my patron supporters, basically said, Paul, I'd love to play a game with you. Shall we get a game of Hadrian's Wall done? So we did, and she won. So yeah, Hadrian's Wall, it's a nice game. I like Hadrian's Wall, but I played that game of it and I pretty much ignored what the other players were doing. The only interaction that you have with the players is that you can use, I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, you can use one of the patterns on their card for your scouting, and you can use the goods on their card. But other than that, you are each playing your own game. So I played that game and I didn't look at any of the other players and what they were doing at all in the game. Now, I have no problem with that because I'm happy with multiplayer solitaire. I just thought, having gone from the solo game, I thought, for some reason, oh, maybe there is something in the multiplayer game that you can do that interacts with the other players. If there is, and I'm missing it, please let me know. As I say, it's not a problem. It's just, it's one of those things, and I know a lot of people don't like multiplayer solitaire games. I have no problem with them whatsoever. Right, that is it for all of the games that I have played in the last 4 weeks. So, other content on the channel, blank. I've not written this, so let me try and do this from memory. No, let me not do this from memory. Let me go to my YouTube channel and let me tell you what other content I have done in the last month that I haven't already mentioned. So there is live Q&A. There was a live Q&A earlier this month, and if you want to go and watch that, again, some interesting questions got asked as always, and I do a contest each month for somebody to win £50 worth of games vouchers from Games Law, so that Q&A is on the channel there. I thought I did some unboxings. Harakiri Blades of Honor, there is an unboxing video for that on the 19th of August. Harakiri is a Japanese-themed, medieval-style, feudal Japan campaign-driven game, 1 to 4 players. I did do a playthrough video for this when the Pledge Manager was active, which was a sponsored playthrough video. But I actually really enjoyed that game, and the publisher has sent me a copy of it. I've done the unboxing video. I don't know when there's going to be some coverage for this game. This is a game which is sat there, just over there, calling at me, saying, Paul, you like me? I'm nice. You want to play me, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I just don't know when. So, Harakiri Blades of Honor. I can't give you any deep thoughts on the game because I haven't actually started playing it yet, but I like what I see, the production value of the game, and the support that the publisher is providing by straight away issuing, look, we know there's a few errors in the rulebook and a few errors with some of the cards. Here's the errors straight away. They've been really supporting the game well with that. So yeah, I'll cover that at some point. I did an unboxing video for Undaunted Callisto, which is the next game in the Undaunted series. And there's a playthrough video of that coming on Monday. Now, I'm planning to make this video live on Saturday, which will be the, 31st of August. So 2 days after this video goes live, there will be a live playthrough of Undaunted Callisto, which is a futuristic version of Undaunted, played on the moon of Jupiter, Callisto, and it's going to be a 4-player playthrough. So that's going to be happening very soon once this video goes public. I think that's it for the other content that I've made. 2 unboxing videos and the live Q&A. Yes. And I just wanted to mention as well that this video log and the live Q&As are turned into podcasts. So if you're watching this video right now and you think, oh, actually, I'd prefer to listen to this as a podcast, you can. Just search for the All New Gaming Rules podcast on your normal podcast provider. If you can't find it, drop me a message and let me know. But all of the vlogs and all of the live Q&As are put up as podcasts. Coming up soon, Friday of this week, I'm going to be doing Nucleum Court of Progress. So Nucleum is getting another expansion. This is the Court of Progress expansion, which is here. I've opened this box, I looked at it, and then I've put everything back in the box. So I don't know much about this yet, other than it's got 2 new experiments in it and an extra board that we're going to be doing stuff with. It's not going to be a sponsored video. So this is the interesting thing. I have done, this month, I will have done 3 videos for Board and Dice. I will have done the Barcelona expansion, I will have done Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age, and I'm doing Nucleum Court of Progress. But the interesting one is, I am not charging Board and Dice for the playthrough of that video. Normally, the playthrough videos that I do for Board and Dice, they are sponsored. And I said I'm going to do that one for you for free. So, yeah, that's not sponsored. What that means is, at the end of that playthrough video, we're going to talk about it. And we can talk about it, and we can be absolutely honest with our opinions of that. So that's happening this Friday. That will be a live playthrough video. I say this Friday. This video log's not going to go live till Saturday. So if you're watching this, yesterday we did a live playthrough of Nucleum. Just go back to yesterday and find out what's that about. What else is coming up soon? I've mentioned the Undaunted Callisto. That's happening on Monday, the 2nd of September, and that will be a live playthrough. I've got another learning practice game of Elder Scrolls. That's happening on the 5th of September, which is a Patreon-only stream, as we're still learning the game. Then on the 6th of September, Black Forest, the new Uwe Rosenberg game that's coming from Fuhlenspieler, which is sort of Glass Road 2.0, but is actually more like the original version of the game that was pitched to Fuhlenspiel before they modified it and turned it into Glass Road. It's a long story and it's a little bit unusual, but that's coming on Friday the 6th of September. That will be a live playthrough in the evening, so join us for that. Then 13th and 14th of September, I'm having a Games Fest. Stevie's coming to visit from Finland. I'm having some other friends around as well. We're going to be playing Netrunner, Spectacular, Galileo Galilei, that I've heard really good things about, Gaia Project with the expansion, Civolution, for those people that have been waiting for the public playthrough of Civolution. That is happening on Saturday the 14th of September in the afternoon. I think I've previously said Saturday the 13th. That's not right. It's Saturday the 14th. Also, SETI from CGE. Now, some of those videos will be live and they will be public on the channel. Some of them won't be. So SETI, we are going to be playing it and filming it in the evening of Saturday the 14th. But CGE have asked me not to release the video until a couple of weeks later. So I will honour that request. It's not a sponsored video, but I will honour that request. And there's going to be a contest to win a copy of SETI as well. But yeah, we're playing it that weekend, but the video will go live a couple of weeks later. Then, later in the month, Primal the Awakening. It feels like months since I got a copy of this game, and I've been saying I'm doing some sponsored content for it. And it has been, but that day is coming soon. So I think it's the 20th, Friday, the 20th of September. Primal the Awakening, the big boss battler that's going to be coming soon. And then on the 27th, Shackleton Base. And if you have been anywhere near Board Game Geek or some other YouTube channels, I think Rado's covered it recently, but Shackleton Base, which is a new game coming from Sorry We Are French, is getting a lot of buzz at the moment. I have played it once and I absolutely loved it. And the other people that I know that have played it more than once have said, yeah, this is a really good game. So keep an eye out for that. That is Shackleton Base, which is going to be released, I believe, at Essenspiel this year. Other things that are coming up over the next few weeks. I have the Unconscious Mind How to Play videos. There are 3 of them. There's a How to Play video for the base game. There's a How to Play video for the expansions and the modules. And there is a How to Play the solo game. There is also a full 3-player playthrough of the base game. Those videos are all done. Those videos are there. They are done. They are waiting to go live. And I will be putting them live when the publisher asks me to do so, which will be just before backers start getting their copies of the game. I can't say when that is. I just waiting on the green light from the publisher to, let me release those videos. But I have also said that I will do a solo playthrough of the game as well. I don't know when I'm going to do that. Might be the end of September. Also, I have the how to play video for Earth Abundance that I'm working on, but I don't actually have the physical game. I've written the script, so I don't know when that's going to be going live. Might not be before Essen. We'll see. We'll see if it arrives in time. The script is written, so as soon as it arrives, all I need to do is film it. It'll be a few days' work, and then that'll be done. The Aeon Trespass Odyssey videos, for those people that keep asking, they are all done. They have been all done for a while, and again, I'm just waiting on the green light from the publisher. And I've also started work on the how to play video for Civolution, but that's going to be about 80 to 85 hours work, I reckon. It's going to be a long video. I've written the script. That took me about 2.5 days. And I'm going to be starting to film that probably next week. But yeah, that video is unlikely, with everything else that I've got going on, that video is unlikely to be done before Essen. I'm aiming for around the middle of October, but we will see. I also want to cover some more games pre-Essen. Saltfjord arrived. It's on the table here in front of me. That just arrived from Porta Games this week, and there's a few other ones as well that I'm probably going to be getting copies of just before Essen, but I don't know if I'm going to have time to cover them. I will cover as many as I can, but any that I don't cover, I'll cover them afterwards. Right, that's it for everything that's coming up on the channel. Next, I want to give you a Patreon update. Patreon this month went a bit crazy, and I'm going to call it the Elder Scrolls effect, because when I mentioned to a few people that I am going to be doing some playthrough videos of the Elder Scrolls, but they're going to be Patreon only because, for the reasons I mentioned earlier, they're going to be very rough. I'm not comfortable with these being on the public channel, bearing in mind Chip Theory Games are sponsoring me to do a proper playthrough video where we get the rules right. But I'm going to be doing some content for the game. And in that week, I gained loads of new supporters. There are a lot of people out there who are itching to get their hands on Elder Scrolls and were more than happy to start supporting me on Patreon in order to get access to this behind the scenes Paul learns how to play Elder Scrolls. Now, I don't do bonus Patreon content in order to get new supporters. I just want to make that clear. That is a very nice side byproduct of doing it, but I do these behind the scenes videos because I'm here, I'm learning the game, so why not live stream it, and why not do it as a bonus live stream for my Patreon supporters as a thank you for supporting me. But as I've mentioned, these videos are low quality. I don't have the camera angle set up. I haven't even trimmed my eyebrows. They're not suitable for the public channel. But this month, I have gained 37 new supporters on Patreon, which is a big increase on what I normally gain each month. And I think a lot of that is down to the Elder Scrolls content. And some people have started supporting me on Patreon because of the Elder Scrolls content, but have actually sent me a message and said, I like your content. I probably should have started supporting you a while ago, but this has kind of, tipped it over. So big thank you to all of you. I'm going to put on screen now a list of all of the people that have joined me so far this month as a Patreon supporter. If you join me in the next few days before the end of the month, then I will make sure that your name is included in next month's list. So yeah, big thank you to all of you for starting to support me on Patreon. And as always, a big thank you to all of my existing supporters who continue to support me and continue to help me make videos like this and a lot of the other content that I do. Now, you might think, because 24 people have left the Patreon this month already, that when I spoke to Vicky earlier on and I told her about these numbers, she said, well, yeah, that's normal. You've had all of these new supporters join you just to watch the Elder Scrolls videos. They've watched the Elder Scrolls videos and now they've cancelled their subscription. So they've basically paid for a month. They've got access to this and there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's what people want to do, that's fine. And I said, yeah, that's what I thought as well. And, don't get me wrong. A few people have done that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a bit of admin overhead for me to add them, remove them, whatever. But of the 24 people that have left, most of those people have been existing supporters, some of whom have been with me for years. It's just so happens that the Elder Scrolls month, as I'm calling it, suddenly saw a big influx of new people, but, more people leaving than normally do in a month for other reasons. yeah, it's just how it is. But not complaining, more than happy with how the Patreon is going. And as I say, a huge thank you to everybody who does support me on Patreon and helps me continue to do what I'm doing. Right, so there is one more thing that I want to talk about. And this is the thing that I referred to back at the start, where I said I've had one heck of a day and I am quite frazzled. And I will be honest with you, there's been a situation happening in the board game industry, and I wasn't sure whether to even talk about this or not, because it is a little bit of a weird sort of delicate, sensitive issue. I even considered doing a separate video for this, because there are a number of other YouTube channels that, for something like this, some board game controversy that's happening, they will record a video with big letters all over the thing saying, oh, big news in the board game industry, whatever. And I thought, no, I don't do that. That's not my thing, even though those videos go viral and get tens of thousands of views. But I felt that I couldn't not say anything. And I don't want this to come across as me making open criticisms or launching any kind of personal attack on a fellow content creator. So, if you don't want to see this, thank you for watching, switch off now. But if you're still with me, there is an individual who is based in the UK, who is a UK content creator, who has a YouTube channel, and I've known for quite some time that the way that they conduct themselves is... it's not something which I think is appropriate for the industry, for the hobby, and just in general. And I've known a number of things about this individual that have worried me, but until recently, they have been what I class as mostly harmless. So they've got a YouTube channel, and they very often will exaggerate their influence, their reach. But it's not just that. There's lots of other things as well. This person has been found out to be telling complete lies most of the time, a lot of the time, and been found to be exaggerating so many other things about his importance, his position, and all of this lot. But I can't really do anything about that, because, again, that would be seen to be a bad thing. But it's wrong. It shouldn't be happening. And it's concerning that somebody like that might be having some influence over publishers. And I'm thinking specifically smaller publishers, maybe ones who don't speak English as their native language, who might fall for these tricks and end up giving this person free copies of games. Why does that bother me? It shouldn't. Okay, it's not right, but that doesn't have any bearing on me. And that's how it's been for the last couple of years. If this person wants to go round and talk complete nonsense at these people and get free games out of it, and then go back and do videos on them on his channel, that's nothing to do with me. If the publishers should be doing due diligence, they should be checking people to make sure that they know who they are before just giving them free copies of games. So it's nothing to do with me. It's up to them. But, and I'm going to put a link to this in the description of this video, there is a thread, there is a forum post on Board Game Geek right now, which is about this person. And I implore you to read it. And if you are a publisher, a designer, have anything to do with the industry whatsoever, or know people that work in the industry, please share this link with them. Because finally, this individual has been called out, and a lot of information has started to come out of the woodwork. And one designer in particular has had a very, very, very bad experience with this person and has written about it. And that's what the thread is. But I have spoken to the designer myself. and offered support and offered help and offered advice because the designer was worried, was potentially being threatened with legal action and didn't know what to do, and was, yeah. But one of the things that confused the designer is, if this person has such a bad reputation amongst many publishers in the industry and many other people in the industry as well, why is that information not out there? I mean, this designer has been scammed, he's been tricked, he's been duped. He admits that, and other people have as well. But he's saying, why couldn't I read anything? If I Google this, I don't find any of this information. But apparently this is a bad egg. This is a person who, there's lots of bad stuff about this person. Why am I not finding it anywhere? So he's decided to make this post about this person and how they run their channel and how they run their business. And what's actually been shocking, but I shouldn't be shocked, is now that this information is out there and it is being talked about on multiple Facebook groups, some of which I'm part of, some of which I'm not part of. But what's been happening today, because the main post identifying this individual was made today with the full gory details of the conversations, is how many people have been sharing their own stories. I mean, literally, I've been away filming this vlog for 90 minutes. If I go back to my computer, I will probably see about another 10 or 15 messages as replies to various forum posts from other designers, other publishers that have had massively negative experiences with this individual. And it is shocking that this has been allowed to continue for so long, with so many people knowing all of this has been happening. But you got to put yourself in the mind of, you are a publisher, right? You are a publisher, you have created a game. You are at a booth at Essen, and this individual has come up to you and has constantly just started bombarding you with, this, that, and the other, and you get a really, really bad impression from this, constant, it's just hassling me. And eventually you might say, okay, I'll give you a copy of the game, right? And then this person takes the game back and then doesn't do any video coverage of the game. And then when you query, they say, oh, well, I can do your video coverage of the game, but it's going to cost you a certain amount of money. Now, I'm just hypothetical situation here. Let's say this happens. And you're like, oh, well, wait a minute. It's just a review. We just gave him a copy of a game. There was no mention of any money. And now all of a sudden he's saying he wants money, otherwise he's not going to get to do a video on it. And we gave him a copy of that game, and that copy of our game cost us X amount of money. Oh, what are we going to do? Oh, there's nothing we can do. Right. So let's just not speak to that person again. That's what's been happening. Similar things like that have been happening to many, many, many publishers, it seems. But there isn't a general place where publishers can all talk to each other. Now, if there is, then that information may have been shared between some publishers, because I know for a fact that there are a number of publishers that have already blacklisted this individual. But because none of the information has been made public, unfortunately, it means some smaller publishers, some first-time designers, whatever like that, like the person who started this thread on Board Game Geek, have been effectively scammed like this. And it's rattled me. It really has, because it's disgusting. I can't even bring myself to tell you the details. All I will say is just have a look at that thread. And see, because it's pretty bad. I was going to try and end on a positive note, but look at my Netrunner cards. Look at how nice they are. Yeah, it's very difficult to follow that, actually, in all seriousness, but that's how it is. And if you've bared with me through that rambling nonsense, then thank you very much for bearing with me. But I feel quite strongly about it. It is important. This person is dangerous for the industry. This person is causing problems. and we need to make sure that as many publishers as possible are aware of how this individual acts and what they do. So yeah, how we were going to end on a positive note. Let's talk about maybe GridCon. GridCon is the board game convention that me and Vicky organise that runs in November. We sold out in 3 minutes 48 seconds, I think it was. So there are no tickets available for GridCon at the moment. We do have a waiting list. The waiting list is about 55 people, and we've had one cancellation in the last 3 months. So I'm not saying the GridCon stuff in order to try and sell extra tickets. I'm just wanting to end the video on a positive note. What I will say is if you do have a ticket for GridCon, then as of last week, the sponsored demos are up. So one thing that we do at GridCon is we run sponsored demos of games. And what I'm trying to recreate is, you know, when you go to a convention and, oh, there's the Mind Clash Games booth. Oh, I'll go along and I'll try out Perseverance Episode 4. You sit down at the table, can I have a demo of it? Yeah, thanks very much. You walk off. GridCon, we don't have any exhibitors. So Mind Clash games are not going to be at GridCon themselves, but what we do is we do sponsored demos. So there is a sponsored demo running of Perseverance Episode 4. It's one of 14 sponsored demos that we've got running that weekend. Now, it isn't like on the same table for 4 days solid and you can just drop in. You have to apply to get a space at the table, and that application is open right now. So what I'm going to do is, I'll tell you what, if you're coming to GridCon, check out the website, gridcon.co.uk, and the Facebook page. There is a link on there with a list of all of the sponsored demos that are being run. There are 14 of them. Mind Clash Games is one of them. And what you need to do is you need to click on the link and you need to fill in a form, and you need to give me your list of the games that you want to play. And then sometime around the middle of October, I will basically do a draw and I will allocate and I'll say, congratulations, you've won a place in Don't Starve, demoed by that idiot Paul Grogan. So yes, that's another demo that I'm going to be running. Yeah, so if you're coming to GridCon and you want in on that, definitely check out the website or the Facebook page, click on the link and apply, and you might get a space at the table. Now, some of those games are actually going to be demoed at other times at the weekend. So for example, Aidan Lowther from Dranda Games is going to be running a sponsored demo of Explorers of Nevoria. If you don't get a space in that sponsored demo, you can just grab Aidan afterwards and say, will you teach me how to play, you know, Explorers of Nevoria? And Aidan will be more than happy to teach you. But there are other games, such as Don't Starve from Glass Cannon Unplugged. There's only one person who knows how to play that game, and that's me. And I'm only going to be demoing it that once because I'm going to be busy doing other things at other times. But anyway, keep an eye out for that. And as of this afternoon, hot off the press, there will be some copies of Star Trek Captain's Chair there. My aim is to run a small tournament for the game. But yeah, we are looking to get some advanced copies of Star Trek Captain's Chair from WizKids to help run a little mini tournament. Again, I'll be posting about that on the Facebook page and the Slack channel and various things like that, but keep an eye out on that. Right, we are all done. I'm going to go downstairs and have a lie down, I think. I will edit this video probably tomorrow and Friday, hopefully get it up for Saturday. Thank you very much for watching, and just before I go, a big thank you again to all of my Patreon supporters for supporting the channel, supporting me, certainly this week, as things have been a little rough. And this video is not sponsored in any way. All of the advertising revenue goes to charity. I was going to talk about the charity payments, but I'll do that next month because we've been donating a lot of money to charities over the last few months, and I wanted to let you know where that money has been going. But I'll talk about that next month. So yeah, this video is not sponsored. All of the advertising revenue goes to charity, and the only reason I'm able to do any of this is thanks to the support of the Patreon. So if you watch my channel and you like the content that I make and you want to support me, then patreon.com/gaming rules is the place to do it. Or if you just want to see some Elder Scrolls behind the scenes videos. We're all done. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. I'll see you all next time. Bye-byes.